Diplomats from Russia and the US will speak face-to-face Thursday at the G20 meeting in Bonn, that's in Germany. Russia says its Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and new US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson will meet on the sidelines. The two-day gathering, Tillerson's diplomatic debut since he was confirmed 2 weeks ago. Let's get more on this. I'm joined by Alan Mendoza. He's Executive Director of the Henry Jackson Society. That's a think tank based here in London. And Alan, thank you very much for coming on the show. Without a doubt, I think all eyes will be on the meeting of Rex Tillerson, of course, with Sergei Lavrov, given the connections, reports between Russia and members of Trump's team. What do you think can come out of this meeting?
Well, of course, it is a first meeting on a senior level between anyone in the Trump administration and a Russian that we know about, of course. And I think the idea will very much be to pave the way for areas in which they might be able to reset the relationship and start something new. It's been rumoured, for example, they may look at counter-terrorism as being an obvious point where the two sides could come up with a series of initiatives that show they're working together. This is clearly something, despite what's happened with General Flynn, that the president remains committed to. I'm sure Mr. Tillerson's committed to it, given his past history with Russia as well. At the same time, there probably will be an element of discordancy about some of the things that have happened in the last 48 hours, and this may put a little dampener on what might have otherwise been a more triumphal occasion.
But trying to reinforce the opening or the reset of relations between both. For the rest of the G20 nations, they would no doubt, I'm guessing, would want to get some sort of idea from Rex Tillerson as to what America First policy actually means. Correct, in terms of Donald Trump's administration?
Absolutely. I mean, this is a first major opportunity for the G20 to get together with the senior diplomat in Trump's administration and talk to him about what the president's agenda actually is. Now, remember, the G20 is a multilateral organisation. It sort of, looks at issues like free trade, other things that the president allegedly doesn't like. They are, the members are going to be very interested to hear what the real agenda is and, indeed, what they can expect from the administration. We've seen, for example, some of the NATO pronouncements in the last few days. Though, that hasn't gone down necessarily well with other alliance members. It'll be interesting to see what G20 members make of the new administration and the policies it's going to follow.
Let's talk about what the topics that might be on the table. You were talking there, security. What else would we think? Will Europe even touch on refugees? What do you see?
I think everything's going to be on the agenda because they want to know where the administration stands. So I think we'll talk about refugees, migration, issues along those lines. I mean, don't forget, this is supposedly a ministerial meeting about Africa.
It's very broad. I mean, if everything's on the table, what are they going to achieve?
Well, I mean, it's not going to be formally on the table. It'll be in the sidelines, the way this works. I mean, the formal agenda is on sustainable development in Africa, but as with every G20, that's not what happens at the G20. There are discussions, there are sidebars, there are, kind of attempts to work out where the administration sits on something. But I think you'll see trade being high up on the agenda as well. Of course, the G20 being primarily interested in economics in this kind of area, there's going to be a heavy focus on what does Donald Trump mean when he says America first in trade terms. Does that mean protectionism? Who's going to be affected?
And I'm glad you mentioned trade because this is happening in Bonn, in Germany, and we've heard some comments from President Trump in terms of how he sees Europe, how he sees Germany, saying that Europe is just a vehicle for Chancellor Merkel. How would Germany try to approach the US administration here?
Well, as you know, Chancellor Merkel has been probably the least enthusiastic cheerleader for President Trump being in office. And that, of course, has been noted on both sides of the Atlantic. Now, the Germans having this agenda, having the meeting, setting it up, of course, for the major heads of state meeting in July, gives them the opportunity to try and shape some of the issues that may come out in July as well. And I think the Germans are obviously very concerned about what they perceive to be American withdrawal from the norms and certainties that Germany and, to a larger extent, Europe and the world have thought for the last 50 years. And I think the Germans will be trying to gain some understanding of where the Americans stand on that aspect. Are you going to stand with us? Are you going to remake the world order? And if so, how are you going to do it? And that's, I think, the question.
They've been very worried about protectionism, haven't we, here in Europe? Thanks very much, Alan Mendoza. It was great to get your insight. Thank you.